My name is Lenore Chinn. I'm a local artist, born and raised in San Francisco, and I'm involved with the film that's about to screen at the De Young Museum called The Worlds of Bernice Bing. And I got involved in this project because of my relationship with the Bernice Bing estate and many of the friends who are involved in the film project as interviewees or the filmmaker are all tied in together. I got involved with some of the early archival work after Bing, otherwise known as Bingo, died. She died in 1998. And there was a core group of us who have been involved with projects designed to establish her legacy as an artist in the Bay Area and nationally. She was very well known in her early days, I would say the late 50s, early 60s, because she had graduated from the California School of Fine Arts and was part of a lot of programs that got its start in the Bay Area very, very early on. So we want to tell her story. The documentary, it's a 34-minute film. It covers some of her history as a child. She lost her parents at an early age, and she ended up going through quite a few foster homes. She spent some time in the Mingguang orphanage for young children. I think they were mostly little girls. And it follows that through her development as an artist. She got a scholarship to go to the, I believe it's the California School of Fine Arts. She also went for a brief time to what was then known as California, what was it? It was the CCAC, it was referred to. Now they shortened the title to California College of the Arts. That was brief. And then she went to the Art Institute, which still exists over on Chestnut Street. And then it goes through her early development as a professional artist. She lived in a number of places in San Francisco, and largely in the North Beach, Chinatown area. Her family at one time had a residence there, but she also lived in the Sunset District for a time, a couple of years. Toward the end of her term as the first executive director of the South of Market Cultural Center, which is now known as SOMARTS, that still exists, and she was part of the founding of that institution. I would say that sometime around the early 80s, I understand from Alexa Young, who is the executive director of the Bing Estate. She lived in the Sunset for a couple of years. She moved into a storefront in March of 1982. And it was primarily a transitional period for her. She was sort of trying to wind down as the administrator at the South Market Cultural Center because it really took away from her time creating her own art. So she found this storefront, and it served as both her studio space to get back into her own art making. And she lived there. Apparently the front part, which was a storefront, was where she did her art. And she also kept it up as a little alternative, what you would call today a pop-up gallery. And a number of her friends, most notably I think Leo Valador, who was a Bay Area painter, showed there with her. They created works on paper and exhibited there, and her own living quarters was in the back, and then behind that there was a garden. So I understand that was on the first floor, and I think if you go to the area now or Google it, it's a little Chinese grocery store. And that was like 30 years ago that she lived there, something like that. And during that time, she was trying to figure out where she wanted to go next, how she was going to transition out of the hectic and chaotic life of trying to run an arts cultural center and get back to her own work. So during that time is when she made plans to go to China for a few months. And she left the Bay Area and went to China in 1984, and where she studied calligraphy. I think she might have taught a little art while she was over there. And then when she came back to the Bay Area, that's when she decided that she was going to go find a place in the country to live. She had been kind of going back and forth there for a period of time. She worked up in the Mayacamas vineyards, and when she came home to San Francisco, she started making plans to move up to the Anderson Valley, and she chose Philo, a little rural town up that way. I think it's on the edge of Mendocino County. And there she stayed for the rest of her life. We met her in the last 8 to 10 years of her life, and the main area where we would gather is through the Asian American Women Artists Association, which is producing this film. She was living in Philo by that time, but she would make the 3-hour ride down windy roads to get to the city to come to our meetings. And I would see her around town at cultural events, but where I really got to know her was when we were involved in exhibits and things relating to the AWA, as we call it. And so that's how I kind of got to know her. I was an exhibiting artist, and we would also go to each other's art exhibits. One of the ones that I attended with her, which there's a little color, an old color Polaroid snapshot, shows me with her and a couple of other friends in one of her last little shows sponsored by a group called Gallery on the Rim. In her later years, she would, periodically get into group shows and things. And so those of us who were able to go to those things would, gather for those kinds of events and celebrate our exhibits. Well, one time we went to Mills College to hear a panel discussion. There was a selection of a variety of visual artists, Asian American women. I think Moira Roth, who was the professor of art at Mills College and still is there, organized an event, and Bingo and I were sitting up in the top part of the auditorium listening, and there was a young, I think she is a Vietnamese mixed media installation artist, and also a lesbian. She was presenting some of her work, which some of the younger members of the audience found for them a little outrageous. And I remember Bingo and I, just sort of let out a laughter because, I think we were the only ones that kind of understood Hunty Phom's work. And when we laughed and Bingo let out a loud guffaw, I think she was a little embarrassed because she realized, I'm sort of in an academic environment. She kind of lived a fragmented life. Her lesbian friends were, one circle of friends, and other art friends were in another area, and then the people that she moved in with in the academic world were, they were all kind of separate. So she kind of kept certain aspects of her life very private, and those of us who kind of moved in similar circles with her were aware of these different worlds that she moved in, which is part of what's going to be unveiled in the documentary film. When I first saw her, a lot of times it might have been at a cultural event that was hosted by lesbian artists. I was involved with a group called Lesbian Visual Artists. It no longer exists, but through that group we also had mutual friends, and I would sometimes I would see her at these events, or I saw her give a talk. She was not out as a lesbian in those days, and so I would see her in that context, and then I would see her in art contexts where, you know, her sexual orientation was not known. So they didn't really intersect publicly. She was very private about that, and I think that was partly due to her generation, and perhaps her upbringing in terms of keeping her art separated from, you know, her personal life, that kind of thing. So, you know, I think for her, I think she found it kind of tricky to navigate. So certain aspects she would be kind of quiet about, and others, you know, she would be more public. And it was her art that was more public, that she was willing to talk about her art. But in her day, she didn't necessarily even identify as an Asian American artist. Today it might be a little different. So she was kind of bracketed, I think, by different kinds of mores or cultural expectations.